into productivity and performance, Walter, I think it's a good segue here because, even as myself, I got to manage people, even though we've been doing it remotely. I'm always trying to find tools or ways to track performance, not from a micromanagement standpoint. I just want to make sure I'm removing obstacles to empower my team members to be efficient, to perform. Like,
Yep.
I talked to one of my team members and she's like, you know what? I really need to be out of my house. Like, could we talk about maybe renting, and she's in a different state, renting a co-sharing space so I can kind of be in a different mindset. And I'm willing to do that because if she can be more productive, because she can be in a different location, because some people can't work at home, but it is what it is. Let's just, because maybe they don't have the space. So there's a lot of things to unpack there, right? So is that required? Should that be a policy, right, for employees? And maybe that's something new they have to consider. Like in our employment package, we can also pay for this if you're working remotely. I'm just giving you a scenario here. I'm not looking for you to get an answer. I'm kind of getting to performance, right? So most managers are worried, yeah, their employees are lazy or they're not being productive, or like, you know what, like, how do I know if I'm getting everything out of them and they're working a full day? What advice are you giving? Like, I guess what's too far when it comes to micromanaging?
Yeah. So one of the talking points I had as an obstacle, it was breaking down the barriers to collaboration. And you put it very well, how you've already implemented it in your company. That to me is a significant challenge, when exactly that in 100% remote, there are folks where sometimes you have small children at home and you get interrupted enough that I need a space that allows me to just be able to think, therefore, outside of the house. So that actually doesn't help me. All of those have to be taken into consideration. And to me, it's consistent with getting the right tools in place. So the software tools, and it's really the meeting and the mechanism tools to be able to touch base, to manage and calibrate to that the correct level. Most people, even when they were live, don't like to be micromanaged. So I think of the cubicle floor space with a dutiful floor supervisor walking around. And I'm sorry, just what comes to mind is like the call centers, are you making your calls? And the next step of that is, of course, monitoring online. Like I'm listening in on your calls or whatever, just say it's that kind of a position. I think those are the challenges. And I can honestly say, as a lawyer, I don't think I used Zoom before March of last year. And I feel I'm an expert on it, or as good as a tech neophyte can be. But the tools that are developing, because originally they would have these video conferencing centers. It's just, I can date myself with this, but you had to like go and rent them. But like now they're almost in every conference room. What you could do before, where you have a ton of live people, but there are going to be some people remote, that tool, having that tool in place, not every company has that. So you have to look at the suite of tools, both technologically and otherwise, to help organize and manage. And I think like anything else, you're going to be calibrating the level of the management. And so if you're moving for the first time to remote, right, the issue of what I call check-ins, or having as an expectation that we are going to do an in-person Zoom meeting once a day. It doesn't have to be every day at 9, or maybe it's once a week, but maybe it's a once a day allocated where it becomes flex, where you particularly if you're working on a one-on-one. So the distinction being is like, instead of having a team meeting with all 7 people on your Zoom call, that you really do afford one-on-one, and you have to build that in, but then calibrate it so that they don't feel like you're looking over my shoulder. I do know my daughter went off to law school, and they're now in COVID, we're allowing the LSAT, right? Whatever that is. Yep. You can take it remotely. But you had to have the camera, you had to show everything on your desk, that there wasn't any cheat sheet or anything of this nature. And I'm thinking like, wow, that's come a long way from when you were proctored in person and you had a number 2 pencil, and et cetera. And that's perhaps an overstatement of supervision. But in some cases, I think some businesses would like, we should just have a camera in their room, right? And I'm like, bad idea. Like, no. I'm like, your attorney's going to tell you, bad idea. Don't have that in the person's home or other stuff like that, for lots of different reasons. But I think getting to a part that is, and some will see it as a heavy lift, I don't think it is calibrating towards the individual. What we're seeing is not monolithic, uniformly applied policies for times, dates, and meetings. Now you're going to become, if not much more flexible, very flexible. So there's more involvement that takes a bit more energy. But if it boosts your retention, if it boosts your productivity, then that's all worth it.